So, ladies and gentlemen, I want to talk about this video from Moist Critical that was sent to me by one of you amazing listeners. And it's once again Moist Critical doubling down on his disastrous debate performance with Sneako. His audience is roasting him in this clip, where they're asking him, how on earth could your performance be so bad that you made Sneako look good by comparison? And what Moist Critical is doing in this is deflecting and obfuscating, saying, well, Sneako didn't look smart. Sneako had a dumb opinion. No. Charlie, you don't understand. They're not necessarily saying that they agree with Sneako or that Sneako looks smart. They're saying that you are so stupid that your argument was so bad that you made him look good by comparison. That's what they're saying in this clip, and we're going to listen to it. But you need to understand, your position on transing kids is so evil, so reprehensible, so moonbeam, batshit, crazy, lunatic leftist out of your ass that people were shocked. They didn't know that you were that mentally ill and that morally repugnant. You shocked them. Because it's not normal in any way, shape, matter, or form to say that a child should be able to consent to transitioning. Because if you believe that a child should be able to make life-altering, irrevocable decisions, why can't they smoke? Why can't they get a tattoo? A tattoo is far less invasive than transitioning. And even if you want to try to deflect on the surgery itself, the chemicals that they give these kids to transition them are dangerous. And they are irrevocable. You don't get to stop puberty. Like, oh, nothing happens. Like, we get to play God here. No, there are long-lasting health ramifications. A child cannot consent to it. I would argue, as revolting as it is, that an encounter between a child and an adult is less harmful on the child in the long term. As harmful as it is, as revolting as it is less harmful than sterilizing that child for life and mutilating them and committing surgery on them that turns them into something else. Something that is not the gender to which they're being told that they can be, but is taking away their future, taking away their prospect of having a family. It's essentially crippling their future forever. And Charlie wants to sit in front of you and say, no, that's morally okay. I've always been in favor of that. Charlie, if you are in favor of transing kids, you are worse than all of the people that you've criticized for going after kids in the past. You're worse than EDP 445. You're way worse than the doc. You're worse than Ava Chris Tyson. Because what you are encouraging, what you're promoting, what you are putting out there into the world is that you should be able to forever ruin your future at the age of 9 or 10 or 11 by starting down a road that will ultimately lead to them messing up their health and their life for absolutely no upside. Charlie, I want you to understand, I don't like you in a general sense. Like, I think that you're a repugnant leftist. I think that you're brain dead. I think that you don't really have any principles and morals. You go wherever the wind is flowing. But this is a different category of evil altogether. I judge you by a different standard by what you've said here. Because you believe that a child should be allowed to choose to be indoctrinated into a group with a 40% suicide ideation, and then the people who actually do go through it that don't end themselves, a large, shockingly large proportion regret it. That whole thing about detransitioners and then telling their horror stories, and they were confused as a kid, and they were pushed into this either by their parents or their doctors or their school, and them having to live with the consequence of this for the rest of their life. Charlie, what you are advocating for is so harmful and so evil and so wrong that it blows my mind that you could be this cavalier about it and not understand why people are more repulsed by what you said than what Sneako said. No one agrees with Sneako. But it's that you were so bad, you were so awful, you were such a brain-dead, troglodyte leftist piece of shit that people looked at Sneako in comparison to you and said, oh my God, this guy's actually worse. That is the shocking part of all of it. It isn't that people think that Sneako is smart or that he's correct on this. It's that you are so bad. You're so awful. Your ideas are so rot gut in support of transitioning children that people thought that you lost a debate with a guy that was trying to waffle on the age of consent. Really breathe that in for once in your miserable life. Now, we're going to play this clip here of Moist Critical refusing to take responsibility, of him trying to obfuscate, of him trying to deflect. And I want you to really take it in and really listen to what this guy is saying.
Sneako seems smart. I don't know. Nothing else. Nothing else. How do you make Sneako seem smart? I don't know if that's what came across, but I saw there was...
See, that's not defending Sneako. That line, how did you make Sneako look smart? That's not saying Sneako was smart. That's saying that you're so dumb, you're so stupid, your performance was so bad, you made him look smart in comparison. That's not a compliment to Sneako. That is a major diss to you. And Moist Critical, either he understands it and he's deflecting, or he doesn't get it. He thinks, wow, you think Sneako was really smart? No, they think that you're really dumb.
Which blows my fucking mind. Multiple times he said that fucking 14, and in a case, a 12-year-old can marry an adult. I will never agree with that.
So, to be clear, in the situation that Sneako was talking about, he was talking about two families agreeing to marry people who, on one hand, I think the guy was the age of 18, or maybe the girl was the age of 18, and the boy was 12, or the girl was 12. But either way, the scenario was the 12-year-old and the 18-year-old consented to be married. Their parents, their family, brothers, sisters, everyone agreed in this union. Sneako's position was, if the 12-year-old was physically mature, mentally mature, can make this decision, then he was asking Most Critical, why would you be against this? Like, is that bad to you if everyone is agreeing on this? The kid went through puberty early and stuff like that. It was a hypothetical. It wasn't Sneako actually defending and advocating for 12-year-olds to marry 18-year-olds, because when Moist Critical asked him, like, would you ever marry a 12-year-old? Sneako's response was no. He was engaging with the hypothetical. He was engaging with the conversation. Moist Critical, in order to get out of jail free, he's saying, well, Sneako was actually advocating. It was Moist Critical who was the one that first put out the hypothetical, by the way. Moist Critical was the one that put out the 12-year-old. The 12-year-old and an 18-year-old. So, I just want you to understand, this guy is not taking any responsibility for what he said. He is trying to dump all of this onto Sneako. Now, Sneako deserves his own criticism and condemnation. But here's the thing. Sneako is banned on Twitch. He's banned on YouTube. He's banned on all these platforms. Moist Critical is one of the biggest content creators in the world. There is a disparity. There is a difference here. There is a reason why I am far more vociferous in my condemnation of Moist Critical than I am of Sneako. Now, if Moist Critical were one of the most banned content creators in the world, and Sneako were one of the largest, I would be doing more videos on Sneako talking about this, because his impact would be far greater, And if he said anything even remotely close to as ridiculous and immoral and evil as what Moist Critical said about believing that it should be acceptable to transition kids, I would be going just as hard on him. It's not specifically about Moist Critical, it's about the argument, and it's also about the reach of the person as well. So he's trying to dump everything onto Sneako, but I think that is just simply him trying to deflect and avoid taking responsibility for what he himself said, because he has to know just how bad it makes him look.
I don't know how that makes him seem smart. Like a bunch of debate bro lingo, sure, I'm not a debater. I didn't know it was going to be a debate. He said if I wanted to talk, I thought it was just going to be a conversation.
Debate bro lingo. I didn't know it was going to be. Listen, you. Oh my God, I have to restrain myself because this guy, he's making my blood pressure rise. You don't have to be a debate bro. You don't have to know or have to be aware of all the different sort of lingo to understand and comprehend that it is outrageous that anyone, especially you, Moist Critical, the boogeyman of the internet, Moist Critical is going to end your career. How many people have gooned over Moist Critical and what a shocking intellectual he is. He's the cutting edge. He's the moral Puritan. He's going to get you. Now, he's the boogeyman for all these, pedos, EDP 445 fears, Moist Critical. How many times have we heard bullshit like that? And then you come out here and have a performance against a guy that is arguing against the age of consent, and you lose so badly that even your own audience is saying, how the hell could that happen? And you're thinking, well, I'm not a debate bro. I don't know the lingo. You failed because your positions and your brain are made of mush. You are an embarrassment. Now, Most Critical, I understand that my channel isn't big enough for you and I to have a conversation. That's reserved for other people. You would never debate me. But if we did, I would never let you get away with something like this. I would never let you get away with something like this, where you have the worst argument. You can't debate against somebody who is arguing against the age of consent. You, in that argument, have the moral high ground from the perspective of age of consent is good. We like age of consent in America. Most people agree 18 is the age. You have the winning argument and you lost against Sneako because your belief in transing kids was so... It was more extreme in its radical nature than what Sneako was saying. And that is... that's shocking that you could lose from that position. It's like I have an undefeatable, unassailable position, and you still lost. It's shocking. It really is.
Not a stream or debate, but I don't understand how anyone walks away thinking that that's smart.
No,
He point blank multiple times said yes, an adult can marry a child if the parents say it's okay. Like, I don't understand.
That's how dumb your position was.
It's cultural. The West used to do that as well. Used to. Yes. We also used to eat our own fucking poop, but...
So, you start to understand, like, this guy is genuinely stupid. I'm not just making it up. We used to eat our own poop. No, we didn't. No, we absolutely did not used to eat our own poop. That was never a thing. That may be, that's a trend in San Francisco, or the liberal circles that you run in. But no, at no point did they start eating their own poop. That was not a thing. That was never a thing. I am actually kind of dismayed and shocked that so many people watch this guy. No. Even back when they used leeches and, did bloodletting, no, they never have advocated eating your own poop. That has never been a thing. That has never been a thing where, oh, baby poop is on the menu, boys. No. Now, you want to have a conversation about age of consent. Back in those days, we can have a conversation about it, where you had arranged marriages between, basically kids would be born and they'd be arranged to each other, or a prince would be born or a princess would be born and they'd be promised to somebody. Like, for example, there's a movie called First Night with Sean Connery. It's about Guinevere. Basically, Sean Connery is like an old King Arthur, friends with this girl's father. She's like really, really, really young. Not like, not like Sneako age, but she's like 19 in the movie, and he's like 60. The point is that she's being married off to Arthur to basically have a truce or have a connection between this land and Camelot. That's something that occurred. And nowhere in that movie did they start eating their own feces. That's sort of my point here. What he's doing is he's trying to obfuscate. No, they were all wrong and bad and evil back then. They started eating their own poop. No, they didn't. And I'm going to continue to harp on that because this is just more deflection tactic from somebody that doesn't have the testicular fortitude to just admit they were wrong.
We evolve. We get better. We grow. We learn.
Yeah.
And I've never been particularly shy about...
Yeah, we've grown and evolved so much that we actually now have one of the biggest content creators in the world that's advocating taking a child who can't consent to literally anything, can't smoke, can't drink, can't get tattoos, can't engage to any sort of sexual relation, can't get married, can't basically do anything, can't drive. But that 9-year-old should absolutely be able to make a decision that will affect them for the rest of their life in beginning a transition into an ideology, a cult with a 40% suicide ideation and an over 10% regret ideation, where you have people that are just horrified that they were allowed to do this and really, really want to undo the damage. So you have numbers as big as 40% and over 10%. And the 10% is the estimate that is given by people within that own group, trying to make it not look so bad. That is what you are encouraging people to enter into. I could not live with myself if I were encouraging people for the sake of my own virtue to encourage people to enter into anything with statistics that horrific. But Most Critical has no problem with it.
My stance on trans people, I don't know why people are so surprised. I've never hated trans people or anything.
I've never hated, hey guys, Most Critical here, I've never hated trans people. People were not aware that you were this brain rotted on the topic. People probably assume that, like, you're like, hey, when they turn 18, they can do what they want. But you went a step beyond that. You advocated and said, yes, you think that it's okay, it's fine. If a 9-year-old or younger is transitioned or begins the process of transitioning, whether you think that that's a slow process or it's a quick process, whether it's just surgery or chemicals, whatever variant that it is evil and immoral and wrong. And you said that you thought that was okay. So people looked at you different. They said, how could this guy make this absolutely indefensible statement about kids? And how could he say that? And Most Critical's response is, well, you thought I hated trans people? I mean, this is just... How do people watch this guy? How do people look at what this guy's doing and say, you know what, I actually agree, I think this guy is great? I don't understand.
Or like transitioning. So I don't understand where all of this is coming from. The kids that was wildin'. I mean, young people transition. Like, it is a thing that happens. It's not...
It's a thing that happens. No, it should never happen. It should never happen. Do you see the casual way in which he just says that? Disgusting. Oh, it's just a thing that happens. No, it should never happen. It should be illegal. The doctors who engage in that should be criminalized. Any parent that is pushing their kids toward that, they should be prosecuted. That is child abuse. But Most Critical, hey guys, Critical here. Yeah, it's perfectly normal for a child to mutilate themselves and begin the process of sterilizing themselves when they're too young to really know better. For social trends, man.
Like that, it's a long process. At least my understanding of it is, it's not like you say, hey, I'm ready to transition, you go in and immediately get surgery. Like, it's a long process.
It's really not. In this climate, it's really not. If you want to know more information about this, there are tons of videos, there are tons of people. Matt Walsh did a video about a 14-year-old girl that was given a double mastectomy. They removed her breast because she wanted to seem more like a boy. That is evil. That is absolutely evil. And it's being encouraged by people like this. And then they don't understand why they get pushback.
That takes tons and tons of decision making. Like, I don't know what else to tell you. I don't know why it became such a huge issue that somehow is overlooking the numerous amount of times that Sneako said literal 12 to 16-year-olds can marry full-grown adults. It doesn't compute. Like, I don't get it. Like, I'm not a debater, like I said, so maybe I couldn't articulate points enough, which is fine, because, like...
Well, how do you... So, let me give you a piece of advice then. I'm not a pro-debater either. But if somebody asks me something that I fundamentally disagree with, like on a philosophical level, on a moral level, basically against what I actually believe, instead of saying, yeah, I think that's fine, I think that's good, the answer that you're looking for is no. No, I don't agree with that. Let me add in my qualifiers. No, I don't think that a 9-year-old should be able to undergo surgery to transition. No, I don't think that somebody who's, going through puberty should be given puberty blockers. No, I don't believe any of that. I believe that they should have to wait until they're 18 years old and then can make a determination at that point when they're an adult. See, how hard was that? I'm not a pro-debater either. But I was able to take the relatively accepted, sane position, which is, no, you can't do that to a kid. The kid can't consent to anything. The parents affirming that doesn't matter because a parent can't affirm that a 9-year-old can get a tattoo or that a kid can start drinking. We have certain laws. We have certain restrictions. Once you're 18, you can smoke. Once you're 21, you can drink. Once you're 18, at this point in the country, that is the age of consent, you can do whatever you want. But before then, it is absolutely unconscionable to advocate for doing what Most Critical is saying should be normalized. And he is confused as to why people are holding him accountable, but not Sneako. Well, they are holding Sneako accountable. It's just that your opinion was so much worse in comparison to his. As bad as his was, yours was worse. And so they're saying, wow, Most Critical, you look terrible. And you're saying, but what about Sneako, though? Oh, we'll have a conversation about Sneako, sure. There's no problem. I have no problem calling that out. Nobody took issue with that. People took issue with the fact that your position on this is absolutely repugnant. They're focusing on you because your position was shockingly bad for somebody in the position that you're in.
I said I didn't go into a debate. He said we were just going to talk. I thought we were going to have a conversation, which is why I asked, or when he asked if I was recording it, I said I don't have to do that. We can just talk. I didn't know he was streaming for a debate. So then it became debate topics as opposed to a conversation. But even in that context, numerous fucking times, he said 12 to 16 can marry and fuck adults. That's crazy. But the thing is, again, everyone's so upset with my position on trans people, which is really surprising.
Trans kids. Notice how he obfuscates that. Charlie, I want you to understand that for most people, what you said is like EDP 445 defending, texting an underage person. I want you to understand that. What you're doing here is like all the people on To Catch a Predator trying to justify what they said to underage people. That's why people are so taken aback. Now, first of all, I have my own opinion on transgenderism in general, but when it comes to kids, that is a whole different ballgame. That is a whole different set of problems. And so when you allow this sort of thing to take place, and you think that it's okay, like, for example, Hollywood actresses coming out and saying, yeah, all 3 of my kids are trans. Statistically, that is impossible. What that is a virtue-hungry demon that is pushing this onto their children. And I think that's child abuse. That person should be in jail for the rest of their life for putting those kids through that trauma. But you, Charlie, you say, no, that's perfectly fine.
To me. And I think maybe people just have this idea that when you transition, it's like that. So like a 9-year-old goes in and immediately has their dick cut off, like Sneako kept saying. I don't know if he really believes that or if it's just hyperbole. But
it doesn't matter. You didn't add any qualifiers to it. Sneako asked you, do you understand? Even if you believe this, that it's a slower process, Sneako asked you point blank, hey, if they take a 9-year-old in and the parents agree to it and the person agrees to it, do you think that the doctor should be able to castrate the child and start giving them HRT like Chris Tyson? That's what Sneako said. And you said yes. You didn't add any addendums. You didn't add any qualifiers to that. You said yes, I would feel fine living in that world. So, do you understand? The actual practical application of it is irrelevant because you agreed to the hypothetical. You agreed on several occasions to his hypothetical. You agreed to it. Which means that you trying to get out of it by coming up with a technicality, well, it actually takes more time. Even if that's true, first of all, you agreed to the hypothetical that you are okay with the surgical mutilation of a child, which castrates them and basically ruins their future forever. But not only are you okay with that, but even if we were to grant you your perspective that, well, it takes a long time, you still believe that a child should be able to undergo this at the age of 9. 9 years old. A child at 9 can't make decisions for anything, but you believe they should be able to make irrevocable life decisions based on nothing. So, in actuality, your argument is that the age of consent doesn't matter. Because if you can castrate yourself and basically remove yourself from the gene pool at the age of 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, whatever it is, if you believe that that is true, then your position is far more radical, far more dangerous than Sneako's is. Which is why you're being called out, which is why you're being humiliated, which is why you're doing this video once again. Instead of admitting you're wrong, you're doubling down on this and you're being disingenuous while you do it.
Gave him the benefit of the doubt that he was just using hyperbole.
Even if it was, it doesn't matter.
I was going to ask that, Christian, but I didn't get a chance. Because Sneako believes that there's mature 12-year-olds, so then I don't know why he would have a problem with Ava talking to a 13-year-old if it was a mature 13-year-old in his eyes, like to Sneako. I don't get it. But he doesn't like Ava, which is why that was different. Do you think he's a bad person? I don't walk away from it thinking he's a bad person. I think he's a very confused person.
I think that there's somebody who's confused, and it's not Sneako. I think Sneako knows what he's saying. I disagree with him vehemently on this, but I think you're the one who's confused, Charlie.
This has been a really fucking frustrating week, honestly. Usually internet shit doesn't get to me, but this week has been really miserable. Like, unironically. Getting called a transphobe, like, all kinds of stuff, and now getting called the opposite. Like, it's actually unreal. Like, the internet's reached the point where no matter what, you can't win. If someone's made their mind up about you.
Here. Instead of look, if you want to watch the rest of this video, this is from the channel Moist Critical Reacts. Moist Critical thoughts after the debate with Sneako. Here's how you win this debate. Okay, you continue to press Sneako on his untenable position about age of consent. That's a major win. You keep pushing him on it. You push him on it. You push him on it. When asked about HRT and surgery, you say, I believe that people should have to wait till the age of 18 and then they can do what they want as an adult. It doesn't take, oh, the internet is just so crazy. The internet, you can't win. Charlie, I realize this may be a new phenomenon for you because you're used to people blowing smoke up your ass. You're used to people just affirming what you say and not really experiencing any pushback. But you have been glazed for years, undeservingly. You're an idiot with an immoral left-wing worldview that's repugnant and horrible. You're a godless person who espouses worldviews that are harmful to your fellow man, and especially to kids. And you got pushback for it. And instead of taking it like a man, you are whining and complaining and blaming the internet and blaming Sneako and blaming everyone else. It's so tough for me. The truth is that you have an untenable, evil, awful position. And until you come to terms with that, people are going to give you shit. They're going to make fun of you, like they did with EDP 445. Like they did with Chris Tyson. Now, you mentioned, oh, well, Sneako just doesn't like Chris Tyson, so they're okay with, they're okay with this situation. Keep in mind that when Sneako was talking about somebody who was under the age mirroring an adult, and this may be beyond the mental capacity of somebody like Moist Critical, but he was talking about families. And that's something that really Moist Critical doesn't seem to get. He thinks that an adult man should be able to walk up to a 12-year-old girl and be like, let's get married. In the Muslim culture, that's not the way it works. If for whatever reason you were to be attracted to this 12-year-old girl that through the power of magical beans looked like she was older, or she was 15 and she looked like she was fully mature, she went through puberty at, 11 years old or whatever, she looks like an adult, you don't go to that girl directly. Sneako made it perfectly clear. You ask your family, and then you talk to their family. And if both the families agree, and the individuals agree, Sneako's like, okay, well then I have no problem with that. If everyone is agreeing with this, you're going to strengthen both families, both people involved are okay with it, then that's perfectly fine according to his worldview, according to his position. I don't necessarily agree with that, but at least it's understandable from the basis that everyone has to agree. It's not some predator walking up to a 12-year-old. It's this guy saying, okay, well, our family is this. I'm going to talk to her father and get his permission and get the permission of his mother or her mother and her family. We're going to, basically, it's not at all what Moist Critical is trying to paint it as, because he's trying to use it as a deflection to get out of his own statement, which is a morally repugnant and evil sentiment and statement. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate you watching. I appreciate you supporting the channel. Leave a comment. Let me know what you think. See you next time.